Hello, this is News Now reaching you from IBrandTV News Studio in Lagos, Nigeria. Coming up, President Muhammadu Buhari visits Lagos State amid heavy security presence. Lagos State Governor Babajide SANWO-OLU shelves the peace walk. As OMICRON wave surges, South Africa records spike in COVID hospitalizations. Russia accuses the United States of refusing to cooperate in a long-standing row. Glad to have you join us and hear the stories making the headlines at this hour. I am Mary Chinda. We begin news now with President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Nigeria's commercial city, Lagos State. The president, in the course of his visit on Thursday, inaugurated a locally built seaward defense boat, SDP-111. The vessel, inaugurated and built by NNPC, is the third in its series to be built by the Nigerian Navy. Buhari has also lauded the Nigerian Navy for keeping a steady course in its local content development drive and also reinstated the federal government's resolve to equip the agency. Still staying on national stories, the Nigerian police force has cautioned the public against the rising trend of jungle justice involving suspects who have indulged in various crimes, describing it as inhumane, a gross violation of the victim's rights to fair hearing, and utter disregard on the sanctity of human lives. Oyo State Commissioner for Police, Ngozi Onadeko, made this appeal at the headquarters of the command in Eleyale, Ibadan, while parading suspects arrested for various crimes in the state.
The menace of social media, it's getting out of hand. They are carrying a whole lot of fake news around. Last week, we had an issue of some people raising an alarm that some students were on their way to school and that a man turned them, two of them, into yam. We further went to the secondary school and there was nothing like that, and no parent or guardian has come to us to say any of their kids are missing. Let us stop spreading fake news that will cause a whole lot of panic, tension, and harm to members of the society.
They record me for transaction of phone. They record me to police station at Bagby. From there, they transfer my case to here.
Since when have you been to the practice?
3 years ago.
What led you to practice?
So none of my friends, we cannot go the same school. But my friend did prison.
Away from Ibadan now to the Legislative Chamber, the Nigerian Senate has considered a bill to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2020, which scaled a second reading during Wednesday's plenary, which was sponsored by Senate Chief Whip, Senator Oji Uzakalu. I beg your pardon, this would be the first time an attempt is made to amend the law since it became an act in 2015.
A bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and for other related matters 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks.
Why I totally support the mover of this motion, I want to add that what we need to do, because talking to a lot of lawyers and judges, it has become imperative for this House to amend the entire Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It is not just about some section as mentioned here by the proposer of this bill. We need to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It was passed in a hurry, and there are a lot of mistakes that are involved. People have been unjustly convicted because of the mistakes that have been found in this, but because they have not been challenged up to the Supreme Court.
In Lagos State, the governor, Babajide Sanwo-OLU, has shelved the Lagos Peace Walk planned for December 2021. The governor, in an address on November 30, 2021, had invited some faces of the NSAS protest in the state in October 2020 to a peace walk for the healing of Lagos later this month. But Fowles, Mr. Macaroni, the younger Kuti, among some arrowheads of the protest, had rejected the invitation, saying there must be justice for NSAS victims before peace. In contrast, some youths, including the president of the Student Union Government, Lagos State University, Mr. Badmus, declared solidarity with the governor, saying the students' body would work with the governor. And away from Lagos onto security matters now, troops of Sector 1 Operation Hadinkai OPHK have neutralized 3 Boko Haram Islamic State West Africa province terrorists in Borno State on Wednesday. This was after troops staged an ambush at one of the terrorists' notorious crossing points along the Kwadal Alga-Palwa Amuda axis. Director Public Relations Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu disclosed this in a statement on Thursday. According to the statement, the troops who were on a long-range fighting patrol towards Alga-Palwa and Amuda villages got wind of the rampaging activities of the terrorists and laid in wait for them at the crossing points. In the battle that ensued, troops rained heavy fire on the protesters, inflicting maximum casualty on them. We'll go on a commercial break, and when we return for more news updates, stay tuned.
Powerful looks command respect, they say. The perfect body, the perfect grooming, and ultimately the perfect skin. Looks, style, and grooming makes the ultimate man. I've found a ridiculously easy way to make my skin always feel epic. My name is Neo. I found Blemiviv, and now my skin finally makes sense.
And to some African news now, beginning with South Africa, where a health official has warned on Wednesday that they are seeing a spike in hospital admissions in the country, despite suggestions that the new Omicron variant could be milder. Dr. Wasali Jassat, who monitored the week-on-week increases in hospitalizations, said the transmittability of the variant meant that even though the percentage of cases admitted to hospitals were relatively low, the overall increase in the number of infections caused records number of hospitalizations. Jassett added that the majority of those who have been hospitalized and unvaccinated, with another researcher in Shawani district also finding the same. And away from South Africa, Burkina Faso's Prime Minister has resigned on Wednesday night after several protests by population denouncing its inability to fight recurrent jihadist attacks that plague the West African country every week. Christophe Joseph Dabari, Burkina Faso's Prime Minister, submitted a letter of resignation to President Marc Christian Kabore on Wednesday, who accepted it. The resignation of Prime Minister automatically entails that the resignation of the government, according to Burkina Faso law. SANWO said in accordance with the law, the members of the outgoing government are responsible for the day-to-day running of the ministerial departments until a new government is formed. And away from Africa now to foreign news, and we go to the U.S., where the Biden administration is moving to tighten enforcement of sanctions against Iran with the dispatch of the senior delegation to the United Arab Emirates next week, the U.S. State Department said on Thursday. The delegation, which will include the head of the U.S. Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control, Andra Gaske, will warn banks of the UAE that the business with Iran are not in compliance with sanctions. The State Department spokesperson said the United States has evidence of non-compliance and that the banks could later be sanctioned or penalized over their dealings. UAE authorities did not immediately respond to the request for comment. Away from the U.S. now, Russia has accused the United States on Thursday of refusing to cooperate with a long-standing row over respective embassies 2 days after the issue was raised in a call between President Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryzhkov said that despite reaching an understanding on peripheral issues, the two countries were deadlocked in the dispute over the size and workings of their diplomatic missions. The U.S. and the Russian embassies have come under staffing pressure at each side has to court the other's representations in the series of tete-a-tete exchanges as bilateral relations have sunk to their worst point since the end of the Cold War. The Kremlin said Putin proposed to Biden that the two countries should resolve the standoff by lifting the staffing limits they had imposed. Up next is Business News.
Hello and welcome to Business News. I am Omobolanle Adeshi, and here are some of the stories we're tracking for you at the moment. The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, Malameli Kyari, has advocated for more investment in the oil and gas sector to effectively tackle the current global energy crisis. Kyari made the call yesterday while speaking at the 23rd edition of the World Petroleum Congress held in Houston, United States. Kyari, who spoke on the theme Building Partnerships, described the choice of the topic as apt because partnership remained an essential component for creating synergy in the delivery of value to various stakeholders and guaranteeing of energy security. He said the oil and gas industry is faced with several challenges, one of which is the requirement for a careful balancing of the aspiration of energy transition and energy security. And analysts have asked the government to tackle the lingering challenges facing the sector, reacting to the amount allocated to the power sector in the 2022 budget. An attorney of law, Okena Nnebedum, tasked the government to consider unbundling the current structure in the system. He says it is not the amount that was budgeted, but the approach to implementation in order of their priorities. Mr. Nnebedum was speaking on our Business Breakfast show earlier in the day.
I think if government is investing heavily in renewable energy, that is the trend we're going, and that is the trend globally. But at the same time, with what we have on ground, over 9 power stations, 3 of which are hydro, and the other 6 are thermal. The supply chain, the energy source has always been gas. Have we fine-tuned and upgraded our infrastructure that moves gas from the refineries up to where they are needed? And then have we been able to upgrade our gas master plan to the point that we have achieved a zero gas flaring status? If those things are achieved, then we know that bringing into the bouquet the renewable energy generation model will be sustained, so that it doesn't go the way like others, like the IPPs. Right. It's not about vamping up some of all these things there to create contracts for the boys. No, it is to maintain stability. And I also want to say that if the renewable energy is targeted at the rural areas, right, we should also know that economic factors are intertwined. For example, if you create the renewable energy and those rural dwellers get electricity, you also, as a government, make sure that there is peace, there is security of those who go to the farms, and there is also the road connectivity to move their produce away from the farms to the point that you add value to it. Right. Because most of our problem for farmers here in the country is
And Access Bank PLC and the International Finance Corporation IFC have empowered 100 female entrepreneurs across Africa who graduated from the bank's W Womanpreneur Petroleum Africa initiative. The initiative, which is the 3rd installment, saw participants go through a mini masters in business administration MBA program by the International Finance Corporation IFC, a member of the World Bank Group, and the top 5 finalists were given a grant of $22,000. This year's program had over 37,000 applications, which was later pruned down to 1,100 participants spanned across Africa, where Access Bank's W initiative has its presence. The countries are Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, Zambia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Mozambique, and Democratic Republic of Congo. In a bid to address the unending crisis in the foreign exchange market, experts have advised the CBN to find a central rate for its exchange market in order to boost the local currency. Garba Karafi, who was reacting to the September inflation figure vis-a-vis, spoke on our flagship program, Business Breakfast, earlier in the day.
The CBN should streamline the exchange rate. When they streamline the exchange rate, it will bring more inflow, because most of people who are willing to invest or buy product in Nigeria, they will bring their dollar in the right channel because the price is right. And the more you get inflow, all price will crash down, and all this rising of the imported item will be lower. Because today, you are a manufacturer, you need $10 million. You go to CBN and allotted you $1 million. Where do you get the $9 million? You have to look somewhere else. And the only somewhere else is to buy it at 580 to get. So by the time you buy it 580, compared to the one that you bought 412 or 413 from CBN, when you dilute it, you will see that your average cost is still 580. And therefore, everything you are manufacturing here or you are importing, you will rate it at 580, not 412. And that is why if you are to go and buy any imported item, you will see the price has gone up. Because people are no longer looking at the official rate, at the rate that they will price their goods. So they price their goods at the parallel market. And the parallel market is shining because there is no way to streamline this exchange rate. Streamline the two. you will see what will happen. The inflow will come and the price will reduce from 580, it can come to let them.
Now, with the planned 5G network rollout in Nigeria next year, telecom operators have called for quick regulatory intervention on the part of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, in order to facilitate early approval for the installation of additional telecoms masts for 5G rollout. The telcos raised fears about the regulatory tussle between the National Environmental Standard Regulatory Agency, NESRA, the Federal Ministry of Environment, and the NCC over the regulation of telecoms mast installations. The telcos who spoke at the Talk to the Regulator Forum organized by NCC in Lagos insisted that the NCC must intervene fast in the regulatory tussle to enable the operators obtain early permit for 5G network rollout within the shortest time frame, since 5G network rollout comes with faster interconnection speed. The telcos were of the view that any delays in giving approval for the telecoms mast installation would adversely affect the planned 5G network rollout in Nigeria by 2022. And the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy has revealed a whopping 1 billion naira debt owed it by non-commercial users of Nigeria's radio frequency spectrum who have refused to renew their operational license in the last 10 years. The ministry has also given all debtors 3 months to regularize their usage of the radio frequency spectrum. The ministry, however, projected that the accumulation of debt owed by the ministry organizations that deliberately refused to obtain their operational license while operating with the radio frequency spectrum may have reached 1 trillion naira in the last 10 years. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Mr. Bitrus Bakonabasu, who addressed the media during the Stakeholders Forum, said organizations and institutions, including bandits and terrorist groups that are using the radio frequency spectrum illegally, are creating national security threats, apart from frequency interference. The federal government has expressed its readiness to collaborate with Israel on investment in youth innovative and research programs to tackle poverty in the country. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made this known in his address at the Innovative Fellowship for Aspiring Inventors and Researchers inaugural ceremony on Tuesday in Abuja. Osinbajo, who was represented at the event by Minister of Science and Technology Ogbonnaya Onu, said, quote, "Nigeria was not just great in the past. Nigeria will be one of the greatest nations on earth." IFAIR R2 was organized by the Israeli Embassy in collaboration with the Office of the Vice President and Skillg Limited, Gregory University, and De Novo private sector-based organizations. And from the Africa scene, vaccines against the virus that causes COVID-19 may provide less immunity to the Omicron variant than to other major versions of the deadly disease, according to laboratory experiment in South Africa. Researchers at the Africa Health Research Institute in Durban, South Africa, found Omicron resulted in about a 40-fold reduction in levels of neutralizing antibodies produced by people who had received the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine compared with resistance to the original strain identified in China nearly 2 years ago. While vaccinated people might be more vulnerable to breakthrough infections with Omicron, vaccines stimulate a wide-ranging immune response that involves more than just antibodies. A number of infectious disease specialists, when learning of the Durban results, said there was a need for increased vigilance and for more study. But the good news was that the South African lab found that the vaccine does reduce the risks. It is likely as well that boosters will further increase immunity. And moving on to the foreign scene now, stocks rose choppy trade on Thursday as worries about the economic impact of the Omicron coronavirus variant ebbed, but increasing caution ahead of U.S. inflation data capped other risk assets such as oil and the Australian dollar. Bonds were nursing losses since a brighter virus outlook leaves a clearer path to higher rates. Traders' focus was turned to the release of inflation data on Friday and Federal Reserve meeting next week for indications on hike timing. Market sentiment has also recovered with other pieces of preliminary data suggesting Omicron is lesser severe than first feared, though offsetting that has been the imposition of tougher restrictions in England to curb Omicron spread. And that's it from the business desk. I am Omobolanle Adeshui. Thank you for watching.
And thank you for the business news. Coming up next is entertainment news.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment News. I am Chioma Amaribulam. A Chicago jury began deliberating on Wednesday in the trial of actor Jussie Smollett, a one-time star of the TV drama Empire, who is accused of orchestrating a hate crime against himself to raise his celebrity profile. Jurors heard closing arguments in the case and spent about 2.5 hours deliberating before being sent home for the day. An attorney representing Smollett, Nenye Uche, said in his closing remarks that the prosecution's case against his client was built like a house of cards. Smollett, 39 years old, faces 6 felony counts on disorderly conduct in Cook County Circuit Court over accusations that he made false reports to the police. He has denied faking the attack and pleaded not guilty in February 2020. He took the stand this week and told the jury that there was no hoax. During his testimony on Monday, Smollett contradicted the testimony of 2 brothers, Abimbola and Olabinjo Oshundairu, who told the court last week that Smollett paid them to stage a phony attack. Smollett's acting career has faded since the incident. He lost his role as a singer/songwriter on Empire, a Fox television hip-hop drama that ended a 5-year run in 2020. Moving on, musical West Side Story, sci-fi epic Dune, and King Richard, the biopic about the father of tennis champions Serena and Venus Williams, were among the top 10 movies of 2021 as chosen on Wednesday by the American Film Institute, AFI. The list, which is not ranked, gives an early glimpse into likely frontrunners for the annual Oscars next year. The film was chosen for their cultural and artistic significance. It also includes global warming satire Don't Look Up, coming-of-age tale Licorice Pizza, musical Tick Tick Boom, deaf community film Coda, Shakespearean drama The Tragedy of Macbeth, thriller Nightmare Alley, and drama The Power of the Dog. British director Kenneth Branahan's film Belfast, about his childhood in Northern Ireland, was given a special award by the AFI. From soaring in spirit to dark and dangerous, from heartbreaking to hilarious, these are the stories that have united us in uncertain times and continue to drive culture forward, AFI President Bob Gazelle said in a statement. The AFI also named its 10 top TV shows of 2021. They include comedies like Ted Lasso and Hacks, along with dramas Succession, Mayor of Easttown, The White Lotus, and Marvel Comics series WandaVision. Nominations for the Oscars will be announced on February 8th. And that's it on Entertainment News. I am Chioma Amaribulam.
And thank you, Chairman, for the news. And on that note, we wrap up the news now. Please follow IBrandTV on social media platforms for more updates and other interesting content. I am Mary Chinda. Thanks for watching.